You ever had a business situation where you hit all of your goals and yet you feel so drained, or you need to hit those goals and yet somehow it's just exhausting? Or maybe you sit there and you're like, I know what type of business I want to have. I want it to feel like this and look like this, but is that even possible? How do you get there? Today, we're going to talk about how to manifest a business that feels good to run. This one is a topic I'm really excited about because I think almost every client I've ever had, some part of this has been underlining what they're going through and what's happening with them. So, hey everyone, this is Acacia Thorin, the CEO, legal coach, longtime business advisor, attorney, and manifesting guru. I can't believe how often, when I've been working with my clients over the past years, that manifesting is actually where we find most of the solutions to the questions that we're facing. And so I have found greater success in helping my clients elevate themselves as they do that. Now, of course, this is the Aligned Business Series where we go live 3 times a week answering your questions. So I want to make sure you find your chat button. And if you have any questions, I want you to put them in there. I will get to all of them at the end. I promise. Absolutely promise. Hey, Jen. Hey, Mark. So this is for you. This is for you because I'm going to go on a limb here and say you're not the first to struggle with wanting to manifest a business that feels great, right? How many times have businesses, I'm going to start off with something else for a sec. When I was studying business in undergrad, I learned that on average, some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world failed at business on average 7 times before they were successful. 7 times. That hurts. Now, of course, as we know today, you don't have to fail 7 times to get there. Sometimes we get it right the first time, the second time, or maybe even the third time. And this is important to know because we sit there and want to avoid the entrepreneurial journey. But at the same time, there's a question of why do these businesses fail? Why did they even fail in the first place? And oftentimes it is a lack of being in alignment. A lack of being in alignment. And it could be from something that is just business basics, like, okay, you're not actually solving a problem. Hey, you don't actually have an audience or a target audience. But that's rarely the case. A brilliant idea can really be a brilliant idea if it hits the market the right way. So what's the difference between one that hits the market the right way and one that doesn't? I'm going to tell you a story about one of my clients. She had been in business for 10 years. Over 10 years, actually. And when she came to me, this was when I was doing coaching and contracts. I was doing contracts. We had our discovery call together, and she was talking about how she's come to this point in her business where she might just sell it. She's just over it. She's tired of having to get clients this way. She's tired of having to deal with clients this way. She might just want to sell it, and in which case we need to get her contracts and things in alignment. But as she would be talking about all that, she would sometimes lay these hints about these goals or dreams that she'd have. Yeah, I also met this guy, Mark. He's great at this. I kind of want to bring him on and hire him, but I'm not going to hire somebody if I'm thinking about closing down the business or selling it. I just don't know what to do. She was in complete conflict. So what ends up happening is that she was telling herself what she wanted in her life and in her business. I want a business that feels like this. I want to hire this guy so we can do this and have clients that feel like this. But these are the things I'm tired of doing. These are the clients I'm tired of dealing with. I'm tired of getting clients the way I've had to get clients the past 10 years. I'm done with all this. And so while part of her was elevated and excited, the other part of her was like, fuck it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. I'm burnt out and I'm done. And this happens a lot with business owners in a few different ways. One, when we have a goal in mind, whether that be the business, a funnel, a launch, a client type, a sales goal, whatever it is, we look at planning to get the results. We business plan. There's a business plan, right? Isn't that what a business plan is? You're literally taught from day one, you have to plan. This is where things go wrong. Because your heart knows what you want, just like her heart knew what she wanted. She wanted to have a different type of client and hire this guy on so they can have a different type of relationship with all their clients. But she kept telling herself, this is how you get the clients. This is how you do it. And she was basing that on what she had done in the past for the past 10 years. This is how I get clients. So this is how you get clients. And when you're starting your business, you might be like, well, this is how other people have done it. Or this is what I've read. This is what other people have done. And what's going on there in a manifesting thing is a few things. One, our brain is trying to figure out the answer. Your brain is trying to figure out the answer. Brain not so good in manifesting. Okay, I love my brain. Right, when law school, my brain has been, and my education have been such a huge part of my success, and it's a huge part of my self-awareness. I used my mind, the one tool I really, really had developed, to learn everything else about myself. But the brain has to learn. The brain only learns, and the brain can only think and see based on what it has heard, learned, experienced, and so on. Which means whenever you're using your mind to create a plan, you are using outdated information. You're using past information. Now the question is, how outdated is it? When you're doing that, you're not being creative. You're not coming up with unique solutions. And that is a really big challenge when we are trying to manifest a business that feels good. Your heart has decided the goal. Your heart has decided the type of business, but then your brain is trying to fill the gaps. Brains think, they cannot feel. Your brain cannot feel. So when you're setting up that plan, if the plan itself doesn't feel right, if you don't make the plan using your heart and your brain together in alignment, it's naturally going to never feel right because it wasn't made with your feels in mind. You expecting things based on how they've happened in your past or what you've been exposed to is in opposition to the creative process. I think it's Wallace D. Wattles who says in The Science of Getting Rich is that you have to co-create. It's about creating, being in the creative mind, not the competitive mind. Not the competitive mind. And over planning, including business planning, is being competitive. You're competing with what already exists. You're competing with what has already happened, and you're trying to make it better, work again. You need to put your spin on it. You have to do this. And so what we started to do with my client is we took this idea of hers, right? This, I want to do all these things, and here's how I've done it before. And I was like, okay, let's remove the path we've decided. You still have passion for your business, even though it's waning, even though it's exhausting and it's starting to feel like burnout. Is it the idea of your business or is it how you're doing the business? She's like, it's more about the how, the stuff I have to do. It's like, okay, well, do you have to do it? She's like, what? I'm like, what's your goal? She's like, I want 6 new clients. Like, okay. And she's like, yeah, then I have to make the sales calls to do that. I'm like, but do you? If your goal is 6 new clients, what's a different way that feels aligned to who you are to carry that out? Our minds try to fill between here and there on the map. They try to fill between here and there in the timeline. And they try to tell the body what actions to take. But all that does is like having a slave driver or somebody belittling you, telling you, you have to do this. Where when it comes from your heart, like, I feel called to do this, we bring things out differently. And that's one of the keys in manifesting a business that feels good to run, is to remove the pieces that you've built in between and just look at, what are you trying to do? Do you want 6 new clients? Do you want a funnel that feels like this? Do you want a business that is based on online products, or do you want it to be one that's based on, I don't know, speaking and doing things in person? And then look at your heart. Ask your heart and your soul, what actions are you inspired to take in that direction? In that direction, what actions are you inspired to take? And don't let the brain think you out of it, because that's what my client was doing. She's like, I know I want to hire this guy. There's just something so aligned with this guy. The energy is great. I want to hire this guy. But. The buts are all coming from your brain. It's your brain trying to keep you safe based on what it's seen in the past. It can't predict how your business is going to change with this guy being hired, with this new hire. The brain can't do that, but your heart is saying it's the right thing. So what would happen? Let's say 2 years from now, she's going to sit there and look back and be like, I wish I had hired that guy. Or she can say, I'm going to hire the guy and I know that I'm smart enough and my heart is brave enough and my soul is inspired enough to get through whatever happens here, because whatever it is, it's moving me forward from where I was. And that's the key to manifesting a business that feels good to run. We worked through to get her to remove those mental blocks. We got her to align. We looked at like different business key areas and key things in the business to find out which parts she was still aligned to and which parts she wasn't anymore. And then simply asked her, well, what would you do if you didn't have to do it that way anymore? Within 3 weeks, I don't remember if it was on our third call or if it was right after our third call, she comes to me glowing. Acacia, I hired the guy. We already have these meetings set up and you're not going to believe it. The very first meeting, we already have doubled my biggest month I've ever had in over a decade. And it's only the second week of the month. I'm on track to triple my biggest month ever. I can't believe this. Her heart, her soul knew what she wanted, but her mind was trying to fill the gaps. It was trying to do things based on what it was supposed to do, what it known had worked in the past, what it had been taught was the way to do things. When she let her mind calm and settle and let her heart follow through with other ways to get to that goal, to that outcome, she suddenly had everything fall into place for her. And this is going to be the same for you. Feels good to run, it means that it comes from your heart. It doesn't mean you don't set a plan. It's how you set that plan. I had one of mine, I would go into my future vision of me, right? Future me. And I'd ask her, girl, how did you get through this mess? I'm in this mess right now. I can't seem to get this task done. How did you do it? And she's like, oh, I did it this way. And I used my forward future me's creative energy to tell me in hindsight what she did back then. And I used that to inspire me. And I was able to bring out batch 50 of something that I was struggling to get 3 a week done. I did 50 in a day. Because I decided to say, I know that this is the outcome I'm after. I know this is the goal I want. I know I want this part of my business. And it had to do with social media. I want this as part of that. I feel called to have it, but I cannot figure out how to do it in a way that's aligned. The calling is aligned, but doing it was not. So I sat there and I asked myself, what would doing this in alignment be? And then I carried that out. Like I said, within 24 hours, I had 50 when I've been struggling for the past 3 months to get 3 done. Crazy, 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 right? And so my story, my client's story there, these are the things that happen. This is what happens when you are aligned to your how in the business, aligned to the how. Don't let your brain control the how. Don't force a how. If you ever feel yourself doing those things, nitpicking at this, or why isn't this part doing it right? Step back and ask yourself, is this the aligned way to solve this problem? Is this even a problem? Look at the bigger picture. What was really the goal? And where's a different, more aligned way that you can get there? All right. You guys ready for the questions? I see some questions coming in already. All right, here we go. Okay. Oh my gosh, there's like a lot in here to say. My brain says chance is coming. I love that you have that belief system. Our brain is so important in the belief system. If your brain doesn't believe it's possible, it's going to take actions to stop you. So we do want those thoughts to be in belief. We do want them in alignment. But when they are not helping us solve the problem, when they have caused or been part of the problem, let's not use them for the solution. Let's get the rest of you in alignment for sure. Oh, I see some compliments in there. I love you guys. Yes, yes. Okay, let's see. How do I balance what feels good with what actually pays the bills? Okay, I get this, right? We've all been there. I'm going to take a step back for a second because money manifesting is it has its own layers. It has its own layers because money is a necessary resource, just like air is, just like water is, just like food is. Money is a necessary resource. You have to have it. But yet, you don't probably wake up in the morning freaking out, is there enough air? Freaking out, is there any water? Freaking out, am I going to have access to food? Now, the quality of the food and those things are different, but you know the basics are going to be there. But when it comes to money, we sit there and add stressors. Why? They come from the way we were raised. And it's not just our parents. It could be your teachers. It could be society. It could be the news. It could be your job. All these different things. We picked up those habits and behaviors, those words, those phrases, because we didn't have to rely on our parents to have access to air. So we don't worry about access to air. But we had to rely on our parents for access to money. And our parents would put boundaries based on their own fears, their own doubts, their own belief systems, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. And these other things. And so we sit there with money, and this is where they come to align with your business. The same thing we're saying today is that I'm writing a book right now. And one of the things in there is like, okay, your parents said you couldn't afford that. Is affording something the only way to get it? Is affording something the only way to get it? No, it's not. It could be gifted to you. You could win it. There's so many other ways you can get something. Affording it was not the only way to do it, but that's what we learned from our parents. Our parents had scarcity mindset about access to money. You need to have a good job for money. You need to do this for money. They assumed that was the only way to get money. And so we started to learn and develop and carry those within us. And so back to your original question, how do I balance what feels good and what actually pays the bills, is get them into alignment. Get them both to be one and the same. Because when you are designed to do, what you are designed to do is to thrive. Money, air, water, food, your business, your creative genius, and your ability to do all those things, live those out, those are experiences with the resources necessary, including money, is what you were designed to do. So when a part of us is not in alignment, the business and the money and things like that, we're looking at them separately as if who we are and how we live isn't one and needing them to be in alignment. So I would look there. Look at the blocks and the ways you're looking at money. Look at the blocks when you're looking at your business, and then look at the way your blocks about money and your business are together. Look at that as well. And look at these layers for yourself. Explore them. Journal it out. Look at what your parents' belief systems were. Look at like the lead female character in your life while you're growing up and the lead male character, whomever they were. Could have been teachers, could have been your parents, could have been a grandparent. And write out what were their thoughts about money. How did they treat money? How did they behave about money? And and anybody that you've ever seen with a business, how are they about money? How are they? And then you'll start to find your balance in this. We want to find your balance in it because you shouldn't be choosing what feels good over versus money, because money is part of feeling good. And feeling good requires money. They're one and the same in your lifestyle than your heart, for sure. Okay. How do I know if the business I've built isn't aligned with what I actually want? Okay. If you started a business, there was a reason. You probably had a calling. You probably had an idea and you felt inspired to follow through on that. Do you still feel inspired? What has lost the inspiration? Was it the planning, the things you feel you had to do? Was it how you have to do them? Because odds are, if you felt inspired enough to create the business and take a step forward, it's part of your calling. It's part of where you're meant to be. What has changed is the thinking about it, the process of going about it, the actions you're taking and how those actions feel. So start to ask yourself, are these even the actions I need to take? Why am I taking these? Right? Just like with my clients, you wanted more clients. Well, is having the sales call the only way to get to clients? No. Then why don't you do what feels aligned to get more clients? And she felt inspired to go do a certain set of creative ads on Facebook. And apparently in day one, they worked for her. And I was like, there you go. Where somebody else, if they're not inspired to create Facebook ads, that's not what you're inspired to do. That's not the way you should be doing it. You should be doing it with the way that's called from your heart. So I would look at, why were you inspired to create this business in the first place? What about that still exists in you? What about that might be lost? And start exploring why and see if there's another way to get back into alignment. Now, I will be honest, sometimes there's phases in our lives where we have to admit, I did that out of misalignment. That's no longer who I am. It's time to shut the doors. Don't carry weight of past things if they're not moving you forward the way you want to be moved forward. But I do recommend there was a passion you had when you created it. That passion still exists. Even if 95% of it is no longer there, there's still that 5%. Don't leave that 5% behind for the sake of the other 95%. You still feel called to it. You still feel that. Turn that 5% into 10% and 20% and 40% and bigger, and move into that alignment, letting the other parts go. Because odds are, if you created it, there was actually a reason, a calling in you, that it's not all wrong. Just somewhere along the way, we started to think, try to control, try to overplan, try to do those things, or do things the way we think we're supposed to do them or should do them. That's probably where things went in out of alignment. Yep. Okay. What if I don't even know what I want my business to feel like yet? That is okay. Trust your heart. What does your heart and your soul just inspire you? And ask it, what do you want me to do as my next step? Not what do you want me to do as my business? Not what do you want me to do in my life? What's my life purpose? Just ask, if there's one thing right now, soul, that would light my heart up, that would make my energy glow, what would it be? And it might be take a walk. It might be take a piano class. It might be do something that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I loved that as a kid. Just go do that for a few minutes. Because being in that headspace is, one, it's practicing how we're communicating with that part of us. But two, by taking action towards it, you're saying, I love you, I believe in you, and I want more of you in my life. So no matter how silly or childish what it asks of you is, do it. Because you're going to reconnect with other parts of you that want to be in alignment, and they're going to ease and soothe the rest of you. How do I shift from offers that drain me to offers that light me up? Okay, I went through this myself. I would be inspired to create a product. But then along the way, for some reason, especially in the beginning of a business, it is rarely your business idea. It is usually the messaging to your audience. And I was picking at it. Like, oh, okay, they're not buying the $97 product. Maybe they'll buy the $47 product. So let's break it. Make a fun around that. Oh, this is, messaging. I did all this stuff. That's not working either. Okay, let's make a $5 product. And I would do all these things. And then I started to be like, okay, this is annoying as shit. This is draining as shit. This is not helping me. This isn't inspiring. Why am I nitpicking at this? I'm nitpicking at it because I never believed in what I had made in the first place. I'm nitpicking at it because I don't believe in my messaging. Maybe there's something else going on. And so I stopped. And just like I said at the start of this call, I let go of how I was trying to figure it out, poking at the little things between here and there, and just said, fuck it, clear the slate. This is what I want. This is why I was inspired. This is where this product idea came from. It was this. How do I want this to be built in the world in a way that feels right? Just because you've built the funnel doesn't mean it has to stay. Just because somebody else has a funnel doesn't mean you need a funnel. Do what feels right. And you'll actually be surprised how the answer comes along, because the universe called you to make that product, which means somebody out there needs it. Somebody out there needs that message. Somebody else needs you and what you bring. Otherwise, why were you created to bring it? Other things I have to notice is sometimes I have to create things to learn how to create better things, to learn how to create something that's even more aligned. Great. I have this. This was beautiful. This was awesome. I made some money from this, but I know we can do more. I'm ready to go from Inspired 2.0 to Inspired 8.0. And you elevate. So let it be what it's meant to be in your calling. Don't force it. Don't pick at it, because that's not what you were called to do. You're not here to sit there and be like, oh, let me change that word or that font. Yes, those things can matter, but they're not the difference between somebody liking it and not liking it. They're the difference between a million people liking it versus 500,000 people liking it. If you already have the 500,000, if you already have people liking it, that's what matters first and foremost, is connecting your energetic calling to the people who need it most. And because it came from your energetic space, the answers should come from your energetic space as well. Okay. How can I start embodying the version of me who runs an aligned business before I see the results? I teach a jackpot slot machine manifesting course. I do it in person because I live in Vegas, so it's something for like the tourists and stuff. But you don't wait to win a jackpot to believe a jackpot is possible. You already feel the calling. You know it's possible. So it's possible. You can't have the calling. You can't feel, because where did the idea that it was possible come from? Where did the idea to have the idea come from? Where did it come from? It came from energy. It came from the universe's energetic field hitting your inner antenna and inspiring your light to light up. That's what matters, right? So the idea came from the energetic field, which means everything that needs to happen is in the energetic field, are already there. The people are there. The outcome is there. All of it's there. What you're trying to control is the win in the timeline. I have had things happen overnight, and I have had things happen a year and a half after I did them. I think was it last week I was telling you guys I had a video that I posted on a YouTube channel. It was a shit ass video. It's like all bouncy and stuff. I had no what do you call that? Like stabilizer on this thing or anything. And I posted it, and I don't know, I had like maybe 20 views. A year and a half later, I got a notification from YouTube. That thing was blowing the hell up. I don't know why. It's shit video. But people were loving it. We assume that the timing for it is the day we created it or the day we shared it. We don't let the momentum build. Let the momentum build. There was a song. Do you guys remember the show Dawson's Creek? I think it was. I might even have the show wrong. But there was a show that ended up blowing a song up. This guy, it was like the perfect song. It went from nothing. The creator of the song, he's like, I recorded that and released it 10 years ago. It failed. I recorded it and released it 10 years ago and it failed. And here now it is the number one song. We see this too, for any of you who ever watch A Christmas Story, right? The one with the leg lamp. That was released 20, 30 years before it became popular. It was ahead of its time. Let you be ahead of your time. That is okay. Let the universe handle the rest. You don't need to have the outcomes on the timeline you expect them. By trying to hold the universe to a timeline, to an outcome, and a how of doing it, you're actually preventing yourself from succeeding. You're letting your mind get in the way and tell you weren't good enough, that it wasn't enough. You're going to doubt yourself. And doubt is the number one killer of any business. Number one killer. Keep moving. Keep moving. All right. Let's see. I think there was one more in there. I see you having like a conversation. Yes. I'm glad you find me inspiring. Thank you. Yes. Energizing. It's called coffee. No, if I'm honest, I had to find my alignment too. I had to find my space. But when you're in your space, when anyone is in their space, you light up a room when you walk in. So I love that I'm hearing this from all of you because I want this for you. You have the thing that lights you up. Get out there and share that light. That is what matters more than any possible outcome. Because the more you shine your light, the brighter it is. And the more you connect it to people, the more you become a necessary piece of their world. And that's when people start to pay you. Because they want you around, they need you around, they need your light. And your light, most importantly, is not replaceable. I can't just have the next person walk into the room and do what you can do the way you can do it. You being you to the fullest is what makes money. You being you to the fullest is what makes you irreplaceable. Every human being has value. Question is, how bright are you going to let your value shine? Okay, one more question. What kind of results have I seen or felt from practicing these? You said meditations? I don't know. Did I mention meditations? So the idea of any of this is, I mean, look at me right now, just my energy, the fact that I can get up in the morning and this is how I feel because I love this. I love this. But what I'm talking to you about right now is not what I went to school for. It's not what I created a 15-year career over. I've been practicing these things for close to 15 years, but it's not what I built my career around. I have a law degree. My undergraduate degree is in business. I know how to lead businesses. I know how to advise CEOs and CFOs and solve their problems in that space. But that is not what lit me up. Light it up, guys. Light it up. Get out there and light it up. Because when you are lit up, that is when the stuff starts to happen. That's what you were designed to do and be. You weren't designed to sit there and overwork yourself so you can have a paycheck to pay your bills. You want to live a full life. That means health. That means happiness. That means money. That means air, food, water. That means friends. That means everything you're called to do, have, and live to the fullest is what you need and want for yourself. All right, all. This has been an absolute pleasure. I see you're all still going off from there in the chat. I love it. I love it. Don't forget, we go live 2 more times this week, and we are going to continue talking about the little things, right? Today, we talked about kind of that bigger picture. But one of the ones I'm really excited for is I'm going to talk about the 2% rule, how some of the biggest changes in my life happened by doing almost nothing. And I'm going to show you how they stack. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to use that 2% rule and how it helps you, even on the days you don't feel like doing it. All right. We will get you all there. We will get you aligned businesses making millions of dollars because that is what you were all called to do and be. I love you all. I'll see you later. You want it to be easy. You want manifesting to be easy. You want your better life to be easy. But sometimes it doesn't feel like that. And that's why I'm so excited for today's topic, because today's topic is going to show you 3 ways you can make it easy. Hey everyone, it's Acacia, the CEO legal coach, and we are live 3 times a week with the Aligned Business Series every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, where we answer your real live questions on the air. And I also tell you some of the secrets behind running a great business, being aligned to the right clients. And today is about manifesting. Because being in the right energy, in the right vibes for your business and for your client are really important. But most importantly, being the fullest expression of you. Being the fullest expression of you is one of the most important things in this life, because if you can't be the full you, why were you ever born to be you? You matter. You are so important. And so today I'm going to show you how we can bring more of you into the world towards your goals and your manifestation ideas with little effort. Little effort. All right. So it's called the 2% rule. And I've learned to apply this in 3 different areas of my life. And when I first heard it, I was doing a manifesting session with somebody, and she had mentioned this idea of 2%. And I'll admit, I still to this day have no idea what she was talking about. But the number 2% stuck with me. It stuck with me. And I found ways to really, really use this, and they help elevate your life sometimes in a matter of days. It's really, really cool, especially once you start to build on top of each other. So what are you going to use this for? Simply, you're going to use this to help you get towards whatever you're being called to do or manifest in your life, okay? You're going to use these 3 things, and they're very different, as you'll see here in a moment. And let's just start off with the very, very first one. The first one is the idea of 2% in an action. What is something today that you could do with only 2% effort? No more than that. I don't want to give more than that. Manifesting does not take like pushing a boulder up a hill, but it can feel that way. You're like, how do I get my life to that when my life is at this? 2%. 2% starts to stack. And I'll tell you one of the ones that I started with. This was back before I was really intentionally manifesting. But the idea, I had realized that when I came home to a made bed, when my bed was just made, it made me feel good. It felt nice to crawl into a bed that was fully made and looked cute and fluffy and beautiful. But I didn't grow up in a house where you make your bed. I didn't. And I was usually so late for things that I didn't have time to make my bed. So as I continued into adulthood, the doing of the things, the accomplishing of the things, the working, the studying, whatever I had to do in life was far more important than making my bed. So I never made my bed. But then I decided one day, I realized when I woke up, I have to flip open the sheets, right? Open the comforter to get out. Well, instead of just letting that sheet go, why don't I just go and fold it right back where I was? 2%. That's how little 2% can be. You opened it and I just put it right back. That simple. Nothing else. Didn't care. That was it. And I just folded it back. Now, was my bed perfectly made? Was it everything and fluffy? No. But I could easily just do this with my sheets again. And I started to do that every day. That was just so easy. I could just do that. And so I did that. And then eventually I was like, well, I can with my other hand just move the pillow back. And then I would just put the sheet back and move the pillow back. And these little things. I didn't try to be like, okay, move the sheet and put the pillow back. That already would have been too much for me. I would have been like, you know what? Not in the mood. No, it's not what I do. I need to go do things. But the idea of so simply just putting my hand back where I open the covers from, I could put them right back. Well, that I could do. And little by little, I now fully make my bed every single morning. And it's glorious because it makes me happy, warm, and fuzzy every time I walk by it. And I get to cozy into my little queen bed when I go to bed. And I just feel like $1 million. I feel like $1 million just because I started with this. And so this is one of the ways that like 2% has really changed my life, these little things. And if you've ever read Atomic Habits, he calls this habit stacking. But for me, I want you to not just create a habit. I want you to do what feels good, what's going to light you up, right? The idea of having my bed made lights me up. I feel glorious at the end of a hardworking day to go into bed and be like, I deserve this. I deserve to fall asleep on a beautiful silky pillow. But it wouldn't feel like that if it was all slabby with my pillows and sheets everywhere. Right. And so that's where this started for me, was that idea and how much my mood started to elevate, how much better I thought of and felt for myself and my self-love, my self-respect over simply making my bed. But then it started to come into other areas of my life. One of the ones that I really love right now, there's two of them, is the idea of when I feed myself. I make my food and I put it on a plate, right? It goes on a plate. What if I just made it pretty? What if I just made it look like a fancy restaurant? One thing for me is I find that dried parsley has almost no flavor to me. I'm sure we all know that everyone has like cilantro is this or cilantro is that. So we all have different taste buds. But for me, the idea of just, okay, put it in a cute little pile on my plate and pour some dried parsley on top. That little bit of a topping, that elevated my mood. I enjoyed my meal more. I enjoyed looking at my meal when I sat down to it. Sure, I was about to destroy the crud out of it and eat it. But at that moment of I was worthy having a good meal. And then I went on to get little ramekins. You know, you can get them at the dollar store sometimes or whatever, and you buy them once, you can use them over. So now whenever I have a sauce or a dressing, it's always nice and neatly on the side. And I do these little things, just these little things, maybe some cracked pepper on top of an egg, just whatever it is to make that plate not look like a blop. It's not something I have to do, not something I had to make, but to be a moment that's mine. Where are the things in your life, making the bed, making your meals, that you can just have this moment where it takes nothing? Maybe it's lighting a candle and, while you're watching TV. Maybe it's lighting a candle while you read your book, putting some scent in the air. What is that one little thing? One little thing that can change your life on the day-to-day. One where I kind of decided to counter what was going on in my life is that I bought myself some new, I have like a bar in my house. And so I bought myself like these really cute glasses. They have like these little gold rims and cute colors. And I remember saving up to buy them and I have them there. And I'm like, well, those are for guests, right? Those are for guests. Those are when we have special occasions, when I have parties. And I said, why? I'm the one who picked them out. I'm the one who paid for them, or I'm the one who inherited them. They're mine. They're mine in this world, this earth, right here, right now, in this reality. I'm the one telling myself no. Why am I telling myself no? Because I'm not good enough? Because today wasn't a special day? Today is a special day. It's a special day because I decide I am special and worthy. And so what I do now is about once or twice a week, I will go get one of those special plates or one of those special glasses, and I'll drink whatever I want from it. Whatever I want from it. I remember buying myself a little curly Q straw, right? That was $1 there as well. Curly Q straw just is fun. It adds fun to whatever I'm drinking. And, soda, water, it doesn't matter. But these little 2% moments, these 2% moments of denying myself something got removed, but also improving my moments to where they made me feel happy. So this is the first way that I use the 2% rule to bring happiness and better moments into my life. And like I said, now I've got a made bed. I have a clean house. I have beautiful food and kitchen and beverage and drinkware because I started little 2% at a time. I didn't have this massive overhaul because overhauling a big, massive habit can be difficult. Not always. Sometimes when you really decide something, you're like, that's it, we've decided. But other times I need to work towards it, or my day is already so full and exhausting that I just need a moment of happiness in it. Allow yourself that moment of happiness. I'm sure there is something in your life, and I want you to add it into the chat right now. I want you to add into the chat, what is that little thing that you can do that's been in the back of your mind, like making your bed, but like it's too much effort to go and make your bed. What can you do? What is it going to be? I want them in there. I love it. Oh, the way I get dressed. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, okay. And then, my time with my dog. Oh, I love that. My kids. Oh, giving myself a bubble bath. There you go. There you go. How amazing is that? In fact, I have a story about a bubble bath and how that was one of the things that started my whole manifesting journey. But we don't have time for that one today, but it's a great one. These are all great, guys. I love this. I love this. Okay, so that was the first way I use the 2% rule to help me manifest bigger and better. Because when you're in a better mood and you know you're worth it, and every little moment that you're appreciating yourself and everything you bring to this world, you enable and elevate yourself to bring more. And this next one is how you feel in the moment. Look, life happens. I've had some shitty shit happen to me in my life. I'm sure you have too. There doesn't come a point in our lives where stuff doesn't get stressful, or other people or things, the more moving parts there are, there's sometimes it can feel like there's more to fall apart or more to influence where we are. And so that's one of the reasons I created this 2% rule. This 2% rule is whenever I'm not in the mood in the morning, right? Sometimes I'm not in the mood to be elevated. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to really feel the gratitude. Sometimes I'm not in the mood. I'm just cranky. I'm tired or whatever. I ask myself, okay, Acacia, on a scale of 1 to 100, 1 being life sucks right now, and 100 being this is a beautiful, amazing, once in a lifetime moment. I'm so grateful for it. I am in full alignment with everything I'm calling in. Where do I fall? Where do you fall? And some days I'd be like, you know what? We're at 20% today. Today is a 20% day. I have to go do something right now. One of my family members is suffering and I have to go do something. I have to turn my back on that. I can't be there. I feel frustrated. I feel angry, and I feel scared that something's going to happen to that family member. I'm at 20%. That's all I can give. That's all I got. And I go, okay, apply the 2% rule. I appreciate that you're at 20% right now, Acacia. Can you get yourself to 22%? Yeah, I can elevate a little bit. I love it. Beautiful. Now that you're at 22%, can you get yourself to 24%? Yeah, I can get there. And I would do this just 2% at a time, because trying to get myself to go from 20% to 100%, well, that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen. But I also didn't want to stay down at 20%. That wasn't going to help me manifest a beautiful day. That wasn't going to help me manifest everything I was trying to become and grow into. So I stacked it up and I got myself to like 34%. And I know you're thinking like, well, 34%, that's still not 100%. I can't be at 100% of the time. It doesn't work like that. We're human. Life is real. And to expect that of ourselves is just not kind to us. So I would rather be at 34% in my day than at 20%. because that 34% is still 14% closer to where I want to be. Every piece of elevation you can do in your life matters. Every single one of them. And 2% is small enough, but it adds up. These little gradual things do and will add up, especially if you can do them in the moment and stack them over time. That momentum, that accumulation will have a tipping point for your manifestations. It will. So that's the second way that I use the 2% rule, is the idea of taking my mood when I'm not in the mood and just asking myself, what percentage are you at? Can you go 2% more? Can you go a little bit more than that? 2% and 2% until you hit this is it. Because a 34% rate of a day is much better than a 20%. Because 20% is where I fell back to. That is where my default was. That is where my conditioning as a child brought me. But every little bit, if I can now train myself that now my new bad day is going to be at a 34%, I'm making my life that much better, and I'm going to manifest it that much faster. Okay, so we've gone through 2 out of the 3. 1, the habit stacking, the 2%. What's something you can do that's so simple and little? Use the fancy ware in your house. Make that meal look pretty. Put the sheets back when you get out of bed. Whatever it is, that 2% that is so simple, it takes almost no conscious effort at all. That's how easy we want it to be. And then the second one is about your mood, elevating it 2% in a way that, again, takes almost no conscious effort other than to stop and realize that you're not in a good mood and ask yourself, what percentage are you at? What percentage are you at? And elevate it by 2%, little by little. All right, and now on to the third one. The third one is about the idea that when we manifest something in our lives, it's not in isolation, right? When I teach vision boards, people are like, oh, do I have a vision board for my health? And then I'll have one for my money and my career, and then I'll have one for this. And like, no. Your health is not separate from your money. Your money is not separate from your career. Your career is not separate from your mood. And none of those are separate from the outfit that you want to buy. You are a whole person. Your life is holistic. And we want your entire manifesting to represent that. So while it is true we want to manifest one thing at a time, right? We want our energy focused towards one thing, one focus area. What we do want to realize is that a rising tide lifts all boats. A rising tide lifts all boats. So for example, let's say you're after that $100,000 a month. Okay, you've got the $100,000. What's actually going to happen in the rest of your life? Odds are your mood's going to be better. Odds are you're probably going to be wearing different clothes. Odds are you're going to eat differently. Odds are your day might go a little bit differently. You might have a different routine. All these other areas. Instead of just focusing directly at the money you're after, can you lift any of their boats with it? How easy can you lift any of the other boats, right? If your confidence is going to go up when you make this money, what can you do to boost your confidence now? What does that confidence have to do about the clothes you're wearing or how you're doing your hair or your makeup? How is that changing what you're speaking or saying to the people in the room? Does that change your day? What areas around ancillary to what you're trying to manifest can you move up 2%? Because by moving them up 2%, everything else comes with it, right? It's not that, oh, you get the money, now you're more confident. Sometimes it's that you're more confident, you get the money. They're one and the same. So that's what we want to do with this third application of the 2% rule, is that we sit there and we take what is easily connected, right? And again, you don't have to change your whole life, just like we've been talking about today. Maybe it's as simple as making your bed. So what are the other areas around it that would be directly impacted if and when, not if, when you get your manifestation, because you're always going to get it. You cannot fail at it if you persist at it, by the way. That is impossible to fail at manifesting. What else changes in your life? And can you go ahead and move any of those up 2%? Lift the other boats 2%, and you will find that the one you're after trying to lift will raise that much easier. Don't wait for that one boat to lift all the others. Lift the whole tide. Lift the tide 2%, and you'd be surprised what ends up happening in your life. All right. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this. Yes. Mary, yes, yes. Okay, so now we're on to answering all the questions. I saw a few coming. I love your questions, by the way. It's actually one of my favorite things. You guys spark stuff in me. Okay, so what do we got? What if I feel like 2% isn't enough to make a difference? That's almost the point. It should feel so easy. Should feel so easy, just like putting my blankets back. I didn't think that just putting my blanket back was going to have that big of an effect on my day. I did it because it was easy. It was easy and it was in the direction of what I wanted. I wanted a nice bed. So, but it still wasn't the full bed because I've been trying for years, trying to get myself to make my bed in the morning. It was not happening. I accepted that about myself. Fine. It's just not who you are, where you are right now. But I could close the blanket. That didn't feel like much. I mostly did it because it felt easy. We want it to be easy. Let it be easy. So don't worry if it feels like the 2% isn't enough. They stack up. Same with your mood, right? Okay, you're 20% and all you can get to is 22%. A 22% mood is still 2% better than you were. Every little bit counts, especially as you build on top of them, because something that's so easy to include in your day, like folding my blankets or putting some dry parsley on top of my my food, that became a habit so quickly in a matter of like 3 days because it was too easy to even think about. I didn't have to think about it. And now when I've done enough of these, my whole life is changed. The quality of my home and daily meals is changed because of this 2% rule. One day you will just stop and be like, whoa, I changed my actions that much in the direction of what I wanted and who I am. And it all felt so easy, right? So don't worry if it feels like enough. That's almost exactly why you should be doing it. If it doesn't feel hard, then do it. Yeah. What if I've been trying to manifest for a long time and nothing's happening? Okay, love. If you're trying to manifest for a long time, I don't know what you mean by a long time, but I want to ask you a simple question. Do you want it or have you decided it's time? There is a difference between wanting and deciding. Wanting is longing for something. It's a hope that someday it will happen. It has this abstract idea of it's still afar from me. It's still somewhere in the distance. It's still on a someday. Wanting is not manifesting. Manifesting requires a decision. I decide this is going to be my life. This is going to be in my life. This is going to be the experience I have. This is it. I remember when my mom and I were doing Antarctica. I went on my mom's bucket list trip, which was to Africa. And I had no plans on going, but it was important to her. So I went. And then we come back and a year later, she's like, okay, time to book your bucket list trip. And my bucket list trip was to Antarctica, which I didn't have the money. I was actually unemployed at the time. So I had zero money, was draining money. And she wants me to book a trip that's, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, which was going to cost me around $21,000. Where the hell am I supposed to get that money from? You don't do that, Mom. Like I'm not ready. I don't have the money. I don't want to take my dream and just fail at it. I don't take that. I want to keep dreaming about it, Mom. It's meant to be that I keep dreaming and thinking about going to Antarctica. And she goes, no, you book it. So we went and talked to travel agents. We looked at what were the best and we booked it. And I had to put down my deposit, but I had a little bit of time to get that deposit. I put down the deposit and here it was. Okay. That day's on the books. It was booked for January 20th. I have got to find that money. I have got to get this into action. And the next thing I know, I had paid it off. I didn't have a raise yet. I still, and to this day, have no idea how I did that. But I was meant to do that. I was meant to follow my client. And I was meant to bring it into the here and now, not leave it on the pedestal, not leave it for a someday, not leave it for a dream. Make it happen. The decision of now is the most important thing you can do when it comes to your manifesting. Take action right here, right now. So if you've been trying to manifest for a long time and nothing's happening, my guess is that it's somewhere in that space. Yeah. What if I slide backwards instead of forward? Well, you first off, you can't actually go backwards. Think of where you were a year ago. Are you still the same person? Maybe your bank account's different. Maybe your job's different. Maybe your home is different. Things might have shifted in some way, but you're not different. I mean, you're not the same that you were then. You're different. You're different because even though you've learned the lessons, you've had the experiences, you've learned the lessons and had the experiences. You are not the same, which means it is impossible to slide backwards. It's impossible to ever slide backwards. But what we sometimes feel like we're doing is we feel like we tried and then we failed. I tried and then I failed, and I tried and I failed. That is different. Which, again, by the way, there is no feeling in manifesting. If you're actually take the steps saying, hey, I have decided this is happening. This is what I'm aligned to. I'm going to be fearless. There's not going to be any doubt. I'm taking full action with my whole head and my heart. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. You cannot fail, even though it might feel like you're failing around you. What you might be expecting of yourself is perfection, or you might be expecting certain expectations to come out of things. Those are mental things that we can shift. Because when we set expectations, failure is nothing more than a failure to meet our own expectations. It's falling short of our own expectations. And expectations either come out of a standard, like an outcome, like, hey, I wanted $100,000 and I didn't get it, or to time. I wanted it this month and it didn't happen this month. Well, who set those numbers and who set that timeline? You did. You did. So we either want to shift why we did that, why we were so harsh about that, or what about that us didn't align to that. Because again, you cannot fail in manifesting, but you can fail. You can set yourself up to feel like a failure if you set unreasonable expectations on yourself, which is why we're talking about the 2% rule here, right? Like little things, brainless, mindless things that you could do in your day. And next thing you know, there's such a habit, you don't even think about it. So these little things, there is no such thing as sliding backwards. There's no such thing as sliding backwards. All there can be is more self-awareness of why and how it felt like failure and your role in that to make sure that the next time you are succeeding at that, right? There is no moving backwards because you're not the same person you were when you were 10 or 20, depending on your age. But if you think like 5-10 years ago, you're not that same person. It is impossible to literally go backwards. Impossible. Can I manifest for someone else or only for myself? Only for yourself, love. Only for yourself. And this is for a few reasons. One, only you can know your inner calling. Only you can know your inner calling. And the other person can only know their inner calling. While we might love people, we want the best for them, we want them to be happy, they are the only ones who can make themselves happy. Even if you gave them everything you wanted, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get the mood, the ideas, the concepts through them resonating the way you want them to, because it still has to resonate through them and in them. One I sometimes use as an example is sometimes when it comes to manifesting a romantic partner, some people like to have an idea of who that is. Oh, I want this person. It's going to be this person. I definitely want it to be this person. Well, what if that person isn't actually aligned for you? I had this happen with myself. I was like, clearly this person and I are meant to be together. Like that's obvious. Oh my gosh, it's so obvious. I look forward to the universe bringing us back together. And then the more I started to realize what I felt the ideal romantic partner felt like, I'm going to think this way. I'm going to feel this way. My heart is going to speak like this. My body is going to feel like that. These are the moments we're going to have. And I started to realize that's not the way I feel with him. That's not the way I felt with him. And I was like, wait a minute. Do I want what I feel with him? Or do I want what actually is a full, complete romantic love that elevates me? And I started to realize there was a difference. But let's look at this also the flip way. Let's flip that. What if he had decided I was the one for him, but I didn't feel that way about him? We wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want somebody else to make decisions for us in our life. So trying to manifest for somebody else to do something or to be something else, it's the same It's the same. It's unfair to them. It's not respecting them as a person. The same way wouldn't be fair to you or respecting you as a person. We each are responsible for our own lives. Now, that being said, I have seen situations where things manifest for someone through somebody else. For example, is like money through maybe your spouse, or an experience through your spouse. Maybe you've always wanted to go to Bali, and next thing you know, your husband is a sales rep, and this year's award for his great sales is a trip to Bali, right? So things like that have happened. So it's not that you can't have a manifestation come through somebody else, but you don't want it to be a manifestation for somebody else, or you trying to influence somebody else's life. Because I heard a thing the other day, like if we let everybody else's moods and everybody else affect us, we would need to pay for everybody else to go to therapy for us to ever have a happy day. And I think it was Bob Proctor who said that. But like that idea, right? We don't control others. We don't want to control others. We can only control ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings. And that's the space we want to be in. But hopefully, as you continue to elevate yourself, the other person is also influenced and sees that and makes their own decisions to manifest and elevate themselves as well. Okay, I think I saw one more in there. How often should I do the emotional percentage check-in? Okay, how often should you do the 2% check-in? For me, it's kind of like I'm in a cranky mood. So a lot of people recommend that you have some type of morning routine. I have a morning routine. Mine is not what a lot of people say to have. Oh, for an hour, do this and then work out and do that. No, I have my own. I have the one that feels right to me. But part of that is noticing, where am I? Where am I mentally? Where am I emotionally? Where am I in my vibration? And so I have tools and tricks, right? Tools and resources over the years where it's like, well, this isn't what I want. I'm in a mood. I'm in a funk. I'm in a funk right now. What can I do? I don't want to accept the funk. I'm not going to just accept that I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. No, that's not the way I'm going to live my day. That's not going to help me be who I want to be or manifest what I want to manifest. So what's a tool I can use? How about the 2% rule? Let's do the 2%. And then I use that. So it's less about, doing it every single day. But if that's what you're called to do, when is it going to help you? When is it going to help elevate you? Bring that in as one of those tools and resources available to you. So the more you can check in with yourself for your mood or your mindset throughout the day, it's one of the tools and resources available to you. That's easy, zero cost, right? Super fun and easy to use. So I'm so excited. I love the 2% rule. As you can see, I've made it my own over the years. These are all ones that I've come up with myself from my life that have helped me. So I look forward to hearing, keep in the comments about how you're going to implement it in your life and what you're going to do with it. And I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is a big one because we're going to start to put some of this stuff together. I'll see you all later. Have a great one. Ever wanted something so badly that you're manifesting it, you're putting your heart, your soul, your actions, everything you have into it, only for it to freaking fall apart and you feel like a failure and you don't know what to do? Today, I'm going to be telling you a personal story of how this happened and the layers I had to go through to ultimately get what I wanted manifested. This is a story of how to turn failure into success, even when you don't see how it's possible. Hey everyone, it's Acacia, the CEO legal coach, and we are here with the Aligned Business Series where we go live 3 times a week answering your questions on the air about the topic. And today's topic is about manifesting and when things go wrong. When you're in the I failed, I feel like an utter failure, and you want to scream and you want to cry and it just doesn't make sense. So go ahead. This story will probably take about 3 to 5 minutes to tell. And then I want to hear your questions, okay? Because I want to hear if any of you have experienced something like this. So it was very simple. I have a very unique background. For those of you who have ever heard my background, it's a very unique one. Statistically, I shouldn't even be alive. And so I decided to turn this into a talk. A TED talk, an inspirational talk, something of that nature. And I worked with a coach. I hired a coach to help me with it. We wrote what we thought was a good one. She's very renowned in the TED world, multiple TED speaker. published author, all of those types of things. And I decide to manifest speaking this talk, right? Giving this talk. And what I decided to ask the universe for was I wanted to be on stage telling my personal story in a way that inspired others and helped others heal. That's what I asked the universe to help me manifest. And almost instantly, I was told there's going to be a TED Talk right down the street from my house. Right down the street from my house. I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I felt so aligned with that TED Talk. But I was like, how am I going to get in? How am I going to do this? So I start researching, and this event was so new, it hadn't even been announced. So it's very interesting that I was aware of it, right? The universe is really putting me into alignment. And then the universe is like, I want you to go pick up a pen right now and write these words down. So I picked up a pen, I just wrote these words down. It's like as almost as if I wasn't even the one writing. Somebody else was writing it for me. These words like go email, not email, go LinkedIn this person and send it to them. And I'm like, I don't know that person. I have no reason to reach out to that person. I don't do salesy stuff on LinkedIn. That's not who I am. What am I going to do with this? And it goes, oh no, you'll have a reason. The very next morning, a reason came up for me to reach out to this person completely unrelated to my talk. And something said, just copy paste what you wrote yesterday into your message. So I do. Send off this cold, random whatever to this person. And this person replies back same day. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. Happy to connect. Happy to do things. By the way, read your synopsis at the bottom. I want you on the list for the TED Talk. And I was just like, what? Oh my gosh, the universe is doing an amazing thing. Suddenly this new TED Talk opens up right here next to me. I'm get connected to the guy who's leading it. This is the number one guy in charge of this. I didn't know that, but that's who LinkedIn, the universe had me connect with LinkedIn. I messaged him this. He wants Mendel's. He starts following up with me about my talk and about where we are in the selection process and this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God. The universe is amazing. The universe is just putting this on a silver platter for me. How beautiful and amazing is that? So as time goes on, I continue to work with my coach, and we're really, really refining that. And we send off the script in this time because eventually you have to send the full script word for word to a TED Talk for approval. And I do this, and then things go silent. And we're getting close to the official announcement of who is on the list. And all of a sudden, that week, a horrific event occurs. A horrific event occurs where the TED Talk was supposed to be, would be given, and 3 people lose their lives. And that horrific event is a type of event that I was talking about in my talk because it's something that I had experienced. And it was just like, oh my God, I can't use the words I've chosen in my story, in that part of that in my talk to an audience that has just lost 3 people because of this. I have to change it. I have to update this. So I go back into my heart and into my coach and everything. And I was like, this is what I feel needs to change. This is what needs to be said. And we send that to the lead guy of the TED Talk. And he just replies back, I'm sorry, but you've not been selected. What? This is what I was manifesting. I was manifesting a talk and the whole universe handing me the TED Talk on a silver platter. It was right here, right now. Right down the street from me. What are you talking about? I didn't make the list. What? So I just didn't know what to do. I had this talk and I didn't know what to do with it. And I would try to get into other places here and there, but it just wasn't working out. And I was so frustrated. I had worked so hard. I had paid a coach. I had this talk. It was ready to go. What do you mean I don't have a stage to speak it on? And this happens and goes on. Now, I went and attended that TED event as an audience member, and it broke my heart. It totally broke my heart. I wanted to support them. I wanted to be there. I wanted to, just in case there's that last chance, somebody doesn't show up and I'm there ready to talk. My talk is good. It's, proved by TED and all of this stuff. But no, he tells me, you've not been selected. You're not going to speak today. And I felt so frustrated And as I continued to go on and try to get on this talk onto speaking stuff, none of it would happen. Nobody would connect. Nothing, 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 nothing. And then and this goes on for months. And I'm just at this point, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm over it. Right? How do you mean I failed at what I was trying to manifest? The TED Talk was right there. The universe gave it to me. Why would you do that to me? Why would you build my hopes up like that for months and rip it out from under me? Why would you make sure I was so perfectly connected to everyone in the TED universe on the side of, and then take it from me? I thought it was cruel. I thought it was evil. And now I had no residual place to leave my talk on some secondary stage. So I go about my normal life, still handling my clients and still giving talks on trainings on contracts and business and sales and all the other things I do. But it just wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell my personal story. And so I decided to do a live YouTube of that talk, and it was not good. Oh, I spoke all the words as practiced and poised as they were for that TED stage, but the audience just didn't seem to get it. And I was just like, this doesn't make sense. This is what I was trying to manifest. I thought this was it. Then I go on to speak at Nomad Cruise. As many of you know, I'm a regular speaker at Nomad Cruise, and I'm there just doing my normal contracts to entrepreneur audience and having a great time because that stuff's loads of fun. But then there was an opportunity to tell a personal story, but you only get 5 minutes. Where with TED, we were set up for me to be about 10 to 11. And you only get 5 minutes. So I was like, okay, I'll go try out. And I tried out with the beginning and ending, the intro and ending of my TED Talk. And they're like, okay, we're going to let you do it. You can come to practice, do the whole talk, and we'll do it. And so what I did is I cut so many of the secondary pieces of my TED Talk, where it was just these core pieces so I can fit into that 5-minute window, right? And I give the talk. It was rough. It was rough, right? Because so much had been cut out. And I do that in the practice, and they're like, this is too much. You can't do this. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is my life. These are the words of my life. I've already been selected to be on the stage. What are you talking about? Like, it's too much. We need to simplify it. We need to simplify it into one core thing. And by the way, you're on stage in 3 days. And I was just like, I'm so frustrated. So I sat there trying to work it this way, rework it that way. And I was like, I'm tired of this. It's been 9 months. I'm tired of trying and failing to get these words on a stage. I'm tired of failing at trying to bring my manifestation of telling my personal story to the world in a way that impacts them and helps them. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of these words, to where these words aren't even mine anymore. Like, they're not even mine. They hurt too much to say. I'm done saying them. And so I go into my coaching call there, where they help coach you to tell a better story. And I was just beyond frustrated. And I was like, I can't do this. And she's like, I can tell. And I'm like, I don't want to say these words anymore. I'm done. She's like, okay. Do you want us to pull you from the itinerary? And I go, no. She's like, okay, so what are you going to be talking about? I don't know. I don't know. She's like, well, why don't you write this as your story? The story of how you're done telling the story. And I was like, I was so exhausted, so beat up trying to get these words into the world. So as we had another coaching call the next day, I had changed a couple things, but she's like, you're still stuck on that TED Talk. You're still stuck on those words. And I'm like, these are the words I thought I was supposed to bring to the world. These are the words I spent months with a coach, thousands of dollars with a coach. These are the words. And then the night before the talk, I just go, I can't. I'm done. I'm just going to write from the heart. And I wrote a whole new introduction. And when I went on stage the next day, I decided that I was going to take the pieces of the TED Talk in bullet point form and instead say them how I would say them now, and why I will never say them again, because they're not my story anymore. It's not who I am. I have grown far and beyond this because I need to let go of all of it. That I had put my pain into those words. That yes, I put my heart and my soul into that talk. What I actually did was put my pain into it as well. So every time I practice those words to polish perfection for that stage, what I was actually doing was perpetuating the pain inside of myself. And it was time to let go of all of the pain. And letting go of the pain of my past meant letting go of the words and the stories too. And then as I walked on top to that stage, the closing came to me and I improvised it on the spot. And I had a standing ovation and a gathering of people over the next 3 days telling me how my story changed their lives. I had to fail at the TED Talk in order for the right words to come out on stage. I see some of you with the questions in the chat. Don't worry, we will get rid of I will get rid of them. I will answer them. Oh my gosh. Get rid of the words that I was trying to say on stage. Sorry, that was like two things at once. But there were two key things that happened here that I want to emphasize for you in your manifesting when you feel like you're failing. The first is looking at what you actually asked for. I had asked the universe to turn my story into words on stage that would help others, that would inspire them and help them heal. I never actually asked the universe for a TED Talk. The TED Talk is how the universe made it seem like it was going to manifest in my life. But it didn't, because that's never what I asked for. I had asked for a talk on stage to a room that was going to change them. And then the second thing is the whole process of having the TED Talk handed to me on a silver platter and then ripped from me. And then the failing over and over and over again had to happen for me to ever put those words aside. For me to ever decide this is not who I am anymore. These are not the words I want to say because I don't carry that pain. Cleaning my energetic field meant cleaning those words out. And only by doing that could I actually tell the story that was worth saying on stage. That story, by the way, that talk was recorded. It is on my channel somewhere. So if you ever want to see that, but that talk is half improvised. It really is half improvised. You could tell I had written the intro just like the night before. I'm trying to parse through my words as I get through it. And I mean, it's still a beautiful talk on stage. I still look like a professional up there, but to me, it's half improvised. And because I was in the moment saying the words the universe was asking me to speak in the way that was going to actually land with an audience that was going to change their lives. So I hope that this story of failure inspires you realizing to look at what you're actually manifesting versus what you had asked for. What are you manifesting versus what you asked for? I didn't ask for a TED Talk. I had asked for using my personal story on a stage in a way that would inspire and help people heal. That happened. That absolutely happened on that Nomad Cruise stage. The other thing was I never would have gotten there if I hadn't gone through the failure process. I had to feel like a failure. I had to get so frustrated and let it all go. I had to. Otherwise, I never would have let it all go. And that was the point. That was the message. So, okay, let's get to these questions. How did you know the breakdowns were part of the manifestation path and not a sign to stop? Ooh, okay. So, sorry, I have like allergies or something today. My eye is very itchy right now. How did I know the breakdowns were part of the manifestation path and not a sign to stop? You cannot fail at manifesting. You cannot fail at manifesting. It is okay to change what you're manifesting, but you cannot fail at manifesting. You will always attract what it is you are after. And so I knew that. I knew in my heart of hearts that this was something I was meant and called to do. In fact, there were other things I had manifested in my life that were meant to support this. So the universe had given me a lot of things saying this is what you're supposed to do with your life. And so I went on to do that with my life. And I knew that wholeheartedly, full belief, this was something I was called to do. So the only person who could give up that dream was me. And I wasn't going to give it up. I wasn't going to give it up. So It was that I was getting resistance, right? To me, resistance is outward communications that impact where you can go. And the resistance was, those aren't the words you're supposed to be saying. That's what those resistance were saying. The resistance I was feeling was not saying you're not meant to be on a stage. The resistance was ultimately saying those aren't the words you're supposed to be saying. That's why they're not landing. That's why they're not working. That's why you didn't get the TED Talk. That's why these things didn't happen. Those aren't the words you're supposed to be saying. So that's where the resistance was. It wasn't the resistance had said, stop trying to manifest a talk that does this impact. It was, those aren't the words. So understanding that I knew I was called to do it. You cannot fail at manifesting. You keep going. And the resistance I was feeling was not me being on stage, but the words I was going to say. What did I do in the moment when everything felt like it was failing? Screamed, cried, kept going. Screamed, cried, and kept going. I was frustrated, but I didn't let that frustration stop me from what I was trying to do and be. I kept that going. So in those moments, of course, it's very important that you process any emotions that come up. Very, very important that you process any emotions that come up, because those emotions are either signals of what you should be doing, right? How you feel in your body tells you if you're in alignment or not. If you're happy, you're in alignment. If you're not happy, you're not in alignment. And that's what was going on, right? I was frustrated. Something wasn't in alignment. But other parts I knew for sure were. I know I'm a speaker. I know I'm a trainer. I know I belong on stage. I know these things. These aren't questions to me on that, but the words. So yeah. Did I ever feel like giving up on manifesting altogether? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. There have been 2 times in my manifesting journey where what the universe gave me was frustrating or even scary. Very, very scary, one of them. But what a lot of us think in manifesting, and this is something that goes wrong in manifesting and in our mental health, manifesting is not just good things happening to you. Manifesting is saying, dear universe, give me the people, the resources, and experiences that turn me into the person that has this moment, that has this moment on stage, that has this moment of money in my bank account, that has this moment of leading a business or the perfect partner, whatever that is, turn me into that person. And sometimes that means we have to have a pretty shitty ass moment. And the universe has done that to me twice. And one of them scared me. But I understood why it happened. I did. And I understood that it needed to happen. At least on some level, parts of that needed to happen for everything else to fall into place. So as much as I would never have chosen those moments in my life, I do know that they were moments the universe gave me in a timely manner to help me get what I had asked for. Because we don't choose the how, the universe does. And so while I'd like to say that it's always been a happy, warm, fuzzy ride, it hasn't been. But I've always gotten to what I've been manifesting. And that's ultimately what I'm after, right? What's the difference between ignoring reality and holding faith in your vision? Okay. So holding faith in your vision is important. And that's a decision you make from the inside. You decide on the inside, this is it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to manifest this moment in my life. And you know that. You've decided. Nothing can take that from you. You are determined. It is yours. Where reality, I love that you've chosen this word. Reality is, Wallace C. Wattles in The Science of Getting Rich says, to think the truth is to be in the truth regardless of appearances. Regardless of appearances, whatever you think is happening is what's happening to you. And so what that means is the way you think about your reality creates your reality. What is scary to me is not scary to you. What's easy to do for me is not easy to do for you, and vice versa. What is simple and obvious for you may not be simple and obvious for other people. So the idea that knowing who you are on the inside, what you're being called to do, and then your reality is merely how you're perceiving what's happening around you. It's merely the thought process going on inside your head and your subconscious, what's happening there. So you're taking in your reality how you want to take it. So if it's not coming up the way you want, change the way you're thinking about it. Change the way you're thinking about this. This happens a lot in relationships, friendships, family, dating, marriage, where like, he does this to me on purpose. I know he does it to me on purpose. Well, you're believing that. And then it turns out maybe they just do it because that's their favorite thing. It had nothing to do to you. It had nothing to do about being on purpose. But your reality, the way you're thinking about the situation, is going to perceive it that way. It's going to take that reality and make it yours. So in manifesting, being mindful of this. All right, I see this happening in my life. Is there another way to look at this? Can I see it differently? And most importantly, can I see it with love? Is the way I'm looking at it with love for me, for what I'm calling in, for the universe, for others? If that is not a loving way of looking at things, ask yourself if there's another way, because there always is. There's always a loving way to look at things. And then you start to change your reality. So it wasn't so much that, so I knew on the inside I was meant to manifest that talk. I didn't know that was going to be the process. I didn't know that was going to be the how, right? I thought I was going to be on the TED stage. And it's very interesting because the whole process has made me now be like, I don't really ever want to be on the TED stage. I start to feel like the TED stages are saturated and overdone now, to where I'm almost like, I'm glad I didn't end up on a TED stage. But that's my perception of reality right now. That doesn't mean that's your perception of reality. And my perception of all of that might change someday. But it's giving me I'm actually okay. I'm grateful for the way it happened more than anything. Yeah. Looking back, what failure was most important for making it happen? Well, just the feeling of failure. Just the feeling of failure. I think it's something everyone has experienced at some point, but the feeling of failure, and then it's stacking over and over again until I hit a tipping point. And I was just like, yeah. So I don't know that there was one particular failure, but it's the culmination of them. That tipping point of just, I can't take it anymore. I'm done with this. I'm done saying these words. I'm done trying to make this happen. I'm done. I don't want to say these words anymore. I'm frustrated with trying to hold myself together on the inside to get these words to land. That was one thing about those words, is that they were so dense in emotion that in order for me to deliver them, I had to feel that density and emotion in me. And then I didn't want to have to be in that space every time I practiced it, every time I got up on the stage. And that's what happened at Nomad Cruise. I went in there and I was like, I don't even feel like saying these words. So when I said them, they were polished and perfect and with the right intonations and everything that you have when you practice for a TED stage. But ultimately inside, I was just like, fuck it. I don't care anymore. And that came through. That came through the audience. And I didn't realize that, but our energetic state comes through. So I needed to come to a place where I was internally in alignment and say words that came from that place. And those are the words that changed people's lives. All right, one more. How do you now view failure when it happens in other areas of your life? All right, so to me, failure is, let's see, I used to have like an actual answer for this. Let's see if I can remember it. So failure usually means one of two things. It usually means we've set an expectation or a timeline on something. So and I had set an expectation, right? I was going to have that TED Talk. That was the expectation I had set. And then I thought it was going to happen on that timeline. So when that didn't happen, I felt like a failure. I have a friend who is also a bit of a client when she first started her business, and something didn't happen on the timeline she wanted. She's like, that's it, I failed. And I'm like, girl, you have multiple investors trying to get into your business because they love your idea, and you're going to stop because you failed because it didn't happen on the timeline you arbitrarily chose? What? And that, like, it's not that she ever failed. What is failure? Failure is deciding an arbitrary moment or timeline and saying that the standard and that it didn't happen, that's it, it's done. So, one, failure can just be reframed. We were just talking about reality, right? Reframe failure. Why did you feel like a failure? And then the second thing is there is no such thing as failure. There really isn't. It is merely more information. It is information about you, information about what you're trying to do, more information about the process, right? These failures of, I didn't get the TED Talk. Well, I didn't do that. That was not me, but it led me to learn more about the process. Taught me to explore more about the types of scenarios that I might end up having to speak into. And it taught me to change the words and to let go. So there is no such thing as failure. So was that whole experience a failure? I manifested what I asked to manifest. I wouldn't call that a failure, but I had to feel the pain and the frustration along the way in order to let go of what I needed to let go of. So that's what I would say about failure is those two things. Yeah. All right, if you want to grab the manifesting guide, it's there, ceolegalcoach.com/manifesting guide. I'll put the QR code up for you right now. This is designed for entrepreneurs, but of course you can use it for any type of manifesting, but it is geared towards business owners a little bit more because we manifest differently, the way we hold our energy or in our space and so on. It is available to you. And of course, this is the Align Business Series. It's Friday. This is what happens on Fridays, right? It's Friday, and we go live Fridays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And I will see you all next week as we continue talking about manifesting for business owners. See you then.